Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Sports Cigar and Coffee. I'm your host, Coach Dave, and welcome to Thanksgiving week. It's hard to believe that we're here, uh, and we're going to be recapping the NFL Week 11 NCAA football from this past weekend and looking ahead to Thanksgiving weekend, which is always great because there's football from Thursday to Monday. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday for food and football. Um, I just always remember having TVs on in our house for Thanksgiving dinner going while we're watching football. It's to me, Thanksgiving is the best holiday. It is the premier holiday of all the holidays, and I know people who like Christmas are going to disagree with me, but I like Thanksgiving because there's no decorations, there's no gifts, there's just eat and football. Yeah, you gotta talk to your family once in a while, but that's why God invented football. So uh, you you have to watch football uh, instead of dealing with a lot of family. I think that's why God invented sports to be played on holidays. So anyway, this week's cigar is an Asset. It's an Asset Blondie with a Connecticut wrapper. Very relaxing, very smooth. It's got a nice sweet taste to it. It's I get a little earthy tones to it. It's very mellow. It's very mellow. So if you like a light, mellow cigar, go with this one. In fact, if you want a mellow to medium cigar, go with any Connecticut wrapper. Pretty much the Connecticut wrappers are your medium to mellow cigars. And this one's a torpedo. So yeah, I do enjoy this one. This is a good one. I'll definitely get this one again. All right, let's talk about the NFL Week 11. We had another firing in the NFL this week, a precedent firing, something that hasn't been done since 1941 when the Steelers weren't even known as the Steelers. It's the first time since 1941 that the Eagles replaced a head coach or offensive coordinator. Canada got fired finally. Uh, his offense was just frankly offensive. That game against the Browns went exactly how I thought. I picked the Browns to win the game 16-13 in overtime. It was 13-10 on the last second field goal, and it went exactly how it went. Kenny Pickett looking clueless, which I'm very disappointed in. I thought he was going to take the next step this year, but uh, I don't know where he's throwing the ball. I don't know what routes the receivers are running. And this is something that Pittsburgh hasn't done, but they had to. There was going to be a mutiny in the locker room. The sidelines, it started in the game. You can see some bickering, you can see some arguing, and Mike Tomlin had to save the locker room, and he had to uh, get rid of Matt Canada. Uh, and I was watching that game along with the Packers game and some other games, and when I put that game on, my goodness, was my eyes bleeding. Um, I couldn't believe what I was watching. They get the ball to Warren, their running back, who runs people over like a mad truck, gets like 9 carries over 100 yards and a touchdown. Just give him the ball like 20 times and then give Najee Harris the ball another 15 times. You know, I don't know what to say other than the Steeler. Mike Tomlin had to do it. The Browns are creeping up, and I believe now the Browns are the 6th seed. Steelers No, the Browns are the 5th seed. The Steelers are the 7th seed, and the Texans, believe it or not, I think believe it or not, are the 6th seed. I have a rule after Thanksgiving. That's when I start looking at playoff positioning. So we'll look closer at the playoffs um, next week, starting next week. Um, and then we have the Jets. Now they threw another offensive stinker. I don't know the Jets and Steelers. Man, that would have been an offensive explosion of 0 points. The Jets just end the season, really. I mean, just do what your letters say. Just end the season. They're playing some guy named Tim Boyle. I have no idea who he is. Don't know where he's from. Uh, why would Aaron Rodgers come back from an Achilles injury to play? Is he just going to is he his usual egotistical self, where he's going to prove doctors wrong that he can play? Which, if he does come back and play, then I'm going to question that the Achilles was not fully torn, and leave it to that jackwad to do something like that, to lie about an injury. Uh, so I don't know. Zach, every quarterback the Jets draft is just like one. They had some success with Chad Pennington for a few years. They had a few, 2 or 3 years with Mark Sanchez, but my God, since Joe, I mean, really, their best quarterback since Joe Namath is Flash Gordon. Let's not lie. Um, you know, when a fictional character is your best quarterback since Joe Namath, man, you got problems as a franchise, as an organization. I don't know what's going to happen. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Jets. You know, they have a Black Friday game coming up against the Dolphins this week. So the first Black Friday game on Prime, Amazon Prime, in the history of the NFL. So, like I said, we have football all weekend. Uh, my other picks for the week, I did have the Bengals and Ravens. I had the Ravens winning 26-20. They ended up winning 34-20. We talked about the Browns and Steelers. I had the Dolphins beating the Raiders 31-16, but they held on to win 20-13. And I had the Vikings beating Denver 28-20. But those pesky Broncos keep proving me wrong. They came back and won 21-20. So the Broncos are creeping up in the hunt column of the playoffs. I had them dead to right when they were 1-5. I had them pegged as the worst team in football. Hey, tip my hat to them. They proved me wrong. After this week, we do have a shakeup in um, uh, the AFC, with the Chiefs losing to the Eagles. The Chiefs are now the 2 seed, and Baltimore is the number 1 seed. Uh, I think that win the Eagles had on Monday, I'm still trying to figure out how they won. I hope they got out of Kansas City before the Kansas City police arrested them for armed robbery. Uh, they should have been down 24-7 at half. You know, um, but they kept it close. The defense kept it close with the help of the Chiefs, with a fumble in the red zone, interception in the red zone, uh, receivers running the wrong patterns. You could see Mahomes telling receivers to run a go, and they're running a post. Dropped ball after drop ball, and the big one, with like a minute 40 left, which would have put them up 24-21. MVS pulled our pulled the great Jack Dundee impersonation and had it go off his hands and helmet. And if you don't know who Jack Dundee is, just go Google one of the best football movies, Best of Times. And he dropped it. It was a touchdown. I started to walk away from the TV because I thought they had the lead and I was going to go curse in the kitchen. But when I heard Joe Buck yell, he dropped it or he missed it, wherever he said, I went, what? And then we had an unintentional grounding and then an incomplete pass, which, though the pass wasn't perfect, it was a little out and it hit Watson right in the hands. Thank God the Chiefs receivers have hands of feet. The Eagles hang on and win. Their offense for 3.5 quarters was putrid. They really had one drive in the first half, and then they started to get the pass rush, which is the great adjustment the Eagles made. The pass rush was getting to them, so what did they do? They threw screen passes to Swift. They did jet sweeps to Swift to get him out of that congestion and get him on the edge. And once he got to the second level, he was gone. And then the one pass play to Devontae Smith to the 1 yard line. And then we know what's happened. The greatest play in football, the most dominant play in football, the brotherly shove, which actually gained like 5 yards. They went from the 1 yard line to like 4 yards deep in the end zone. So second half, the Eagles played much, much better. They made the adjustments. They put Reed Blankenship as a spy. So when Mahomes was scrambling, because the pass rush was getting to Mahomes, they just couldn't finish the sack or get him to throw the ball away. He had avenues to run. Their pass rush got upfield too much, or they lost contain. And then Mahomes was hurting them with his legs in the first half. And then Reed Blankenship was kind of like a spy. And the Eagles just win. I mean, people question them, especially after they lost to the Jets, and they but they went up against the Cowboys, the Dolphins, and the the Chiefs, and held them to six. Those three teams to 6 points in the second half. Really gave up 10 to the Dolphins because they had a pick six to make for their other touchdown. I mean, they just win, and they don't care. It's not college, so you don't have to look pretty. And this is exactly what the Eagles are. This is who they are. Every game is going to be nerve wracking. Every game is going to be. They're going to look bad for 4 drives on offense. They're going to look bad for 3 drives on defense, and then in the middle of the third quarter, they figure it out. This week they got the Bills coming into the link. The Buffalo's so erratic. They're like the stock market ticker. They're just going up and down. So I don't know what Bills team is going to show up. They're coming to the link. The next 2 games are at the link. And then the week after is the 49ers. So, the gauntlet the gauntlet was supposed to start with Miami, and now the Eagles are 4-0 through that gauntlet. And now they have 4 games left of that gauntlet with the Bills, the at home with the Bills, at home with the 49ers, at Dallas, at Seattle. If they beat Dallas, they pretty much clinch the division. If they split with Dallas and San Francisco, if they go, they beat Buffalo and then they lose 1 game, they lose 1 game in that 3 with the NFC, they're still going to be in good shape because they end with the Giants, Cardinals, Giants. So hopefully it's wrapped up. Hopefully the NFC East is wrapped up and the number 1 seed's wrapped up by the Cardinals, and then we can get because Fields, he's still or Fields. Hurts is not 100%. you know, so give him some time before the playoffs. And the reason why I had Justin Fields on my mind, I was thinking about their game with the Lions, which they were in control the whole game until the last half of the fourth quarter. The last 5 minutes, they imploded. Um, I think with like 5 minutes left or 4 minutes left, the probability rate for a win for the Bears was like 94.5%. And listen, I talked about the Bears, what they have to do. I think this coach is getting paid to lose. His press conferences are bizarre. They're kind of like Lieutenant Frank Dreben's Naked Gun press conferences, and he is just he's gonna be. The Bears have to do is hire Eric Bieniemy, keep Justin Fields, hire Eric Bieniemy, draft Marvin Harrison Jr., and draft Olufanuchu, the left tackle from Penn State. Boom. Those are the moves they have to keep. I don't know if Justin Fields is an NFL quarterback. He's been so poorly coached. He's been so poor. He has poor. Besides DJ Moore, he's got nobody around him. So let's give him a real offensive coach. Let's give him Eric Bieniemy. And let's give him Marvin Harrison Jr., who's the best player in college football, and let's give him the best left tackle in college football, Olu Finashu, who somehow is not a nominee for uh, the offensive, I think the Lombardi Award for the best lineman. So I don't know how that works. But then again, we have a tight end. We have a tight end nominated for it, which doesn't make sense. That's what the Bears got to do. I think the Steelers, with their coaching, they have to make a decision: is Kenny Pickett the man or not? And if he's not, then what's the plan? Do they go make a trade for Justin Fields? Do they go, do they get somebody in the draft? I think Justin Fields is a good NFL quarterback with proper coaching, with a proper organization. Just like Jalen Hurts. If Jalen Hurts went to like the Packers or the Jets, he wouldn't be, he'd be decent. I think he would be able to get players on, he'd be able to make plays, but I don't think he'd be 27-3 in his last 30 starts like he is with the Eagles. he's got to go to Justin Fields needs the right organization. And lately, Bears quarterbacks is where college quarterbacks go to die. So that's the recap for Week 11. What stood out in your eyes? Was it C.J. Stroud again having another huge game? Was it Cleveland winning with a rookie quarterback making his second start? Who's going to be the starter the rest of the year? Though they did sign Joe Flacco for insurance, which is a smart move. You want to have a backup to uh, a rookie that's a veteran. Giants got a win in the dump known as FedEx Stadium, where there was no hot water after the game. Yeah, Tommy DeVito, hey, Tommy DeVito, hey, have some chicken cutlet. Got the win. He actually played well, um, you know, and uh, I'm not sure if it's kind of one of those things where you want the Giants to lose if you're a fan, but yet you want them to win while you're watching the game. So you're kind of in a what's that word? Juxtaposition, that fancy English word. You just don't know what to do. But hey, it's good for Tommy DeVito, a rookie quarterback, to get a win. And I love his celebrations when he does the Italian, hey, ma panuda you. Uh, so, so let's take a look at week 12. Right? We have 3 games tomorrow, which are huge for playoff positioning. We have the Packers and Lions. Now, the Lions should win, but you never know. The Packers have been inconsistent. Jordan Love looks good one half, looks bad this quarter, looks good this drive. But I do like the Lions to ultimately take it 26-17. I like the Cowboys to beat Washington 34-17, do what the Cowboys do, beat the teams they're supposed to, pad the stats, and everybody talks about how they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And the 49ers and Seahawks is going to be interesting. I like the Seahawks 27-26. I like the Seahawks 27-26 in this game. I think that, the 49ers beat the Rams beat the Seahawks beat the 49ers. It's kind of like a round robin thing. So, you know, for Eagle purposes, if one of those teams loses, that's good. uh, because the 49ers in lines are chasing the Eagles for that number one seed because the number one seed has to come through the link. It just has to. It gives Hurts an extra uh, week off. It just has to come. Then we have the first ever Black Friday game on Amazon Prime. I like Miami to roll against the Jets 36-6. And then on Sunday we have actually who thought the Sunday after Thanksgiving the Jacksonville Texans game would be for first place. CJ Stroud has been playing out of his mind. He is slowly creeping into the MVP. If he keeps going, he's going to knock one of my guys out and he's going to replace him. I do like the Jags, though, to hang on and win 26-19. And the Steelers and Bengals, where the Bengals are going to be starting a new quarterback with Joe Burrow being out for the year. And speaking of Burrow, I'm so sick of the people gambling on Twitter and other social media complaining that they're going to sue the Bengals, they're going to sue this. No one gives a crap about your gambling problem. No one cares that you bet Cincinnati. No one cares. You bet Cincinnati. That's your fault. No one cares. The teams owe nothing to the gamblers. They owe nothing to the fantasy football owners. And the fact that the NFL has gone to bed with these gamblers, these gambling companies and these apps, FanDuel, DraftKings, you see commercials with Jamie Foxx for Harrah's. It's embarrassing. The NFL should be ashamed of themselves. I wish Congress would just ban illegal gambling because I'm so uh, and make legal gambling illegal. I'm so sick of seeing these commercials. I'm so sick of seeing FanDuel. Now ESPN has a thing out, ESPN Bet. I don't watch sports for gambling. I don't watch sports for fantasy football because I'm under my premonition is anybody over 43 years of age should not be playing fantasy football. Just get rid of it. Gambling and fantasy football and casual fans are the reason why the NFL has the rules they have. The other night, Fletcher Cox barely, he pushed Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes acted like he got hip checked into the boards as a hockey player. And then as soon as he hits the ground, he puts his hands up to the referee and then the flag throws, you know? And I know I know Hurts with the Eagles gets the benefit of a few bad ones, and they're bad. They're horrible. I mean, they're just tackles. I mean, what do you want these guys to do? And now they're talking about getting rid of the hip drop tackle, which I never even heard of a hip drop tackle until they said they're going to ban the hip drop tackle, because to me it just looks like a tackle. And it's football. People get hurt. Things happen. You know, what's a defender going to do now? You can't hit him in the head. Now you can't wrap and drop. What are they going to do? You know, if you want to think about it, the hip drop is an incidental consequence of getting rid of going up high. So what's the defender supposed to do? I don't know. The NFL has rules to cater, like I said, to the casual fans because they want games 35-30. They want the fantasy football owners to get their points, and they want offense for for the gamblers. So the gamblers keep coming back and win. It's really embarrassing and shameful, in my opinion. That's my take on gambling. I think it should be illegal. I know I'm probably in the minority with that, especially in college sports. There's no reason to have college sports be legal gambling. It's embarrassing. Frankly, it's embarrassing. And I know I'm in the minority on that one. So, um, so my top 5 NFL MVPs, I have number 5 Pat Mahomes, number 4 AJ Brown, number 3 Tua, number 2 Jalen Hurts, and number 1 Lamar Jackson. And the last 2 looking in are Brock Purdy and CJ Stroud. All right, so my NFL tiers for this week's business. We're gonna go bottom up. So my unpaid interns, I have the Patriots, the Titans, Washington, the Bears, the Panthers, and the Cardinals. And in fact, can we move Washington out because of their dump of a stadium? Can we put them like in the dumpster as garbage? That'd be great. Uh, the office hourly employees, I have the Jets, the Chargers, because they're just bad. Brandon Staley they should have just left him in Green Bay and have him walk home or drive home on a school bus back to LA. The Giants and the Buccaneers. My team leaders, I have the Colts, I have Vegas, the Packers, the Falcons, and the Rams. Regional managers, I have the Bills, the Bengals, and the Saints. Regional assistant vice presidents, I have the Steelers, the Broncos, and the Vikings. Regional vice president, I have Texans and Seattle. My CFOs, Cleveland and Dallas. My COOs, Miami, the Ravens, the Jags, KC, and the Lions. And my CEOs are the Eagles and the 49ers. Now, this week in college football was really yeah, we had Washington, Oregon State. Yeah, but there really wasn't anything big. This is especially in the SEC and Florida State, this is the week where they play the Little Sisters of the Poor and the Northeast Boy Scout Association teams. So nothing really. We did have Maryland, give Michigan everything they had. Uh, so this week in football is great because we have great rivalries in college football. We have the Egg Bowl, Mississippi State. We have the Civil War, Oregon and Oregon State. We have the game, Michigan and Ohio State. We have the Iron Bowl, Alabama and Ohio State. And we have the Apple Cup, Washington and Washington State. Now, the Civil War, the game, Iron Bowl, and Apple Cup all have playoff implications because Washington, Oregon, Michigan, Ohio State, and Alabama all have the playoff hopes. And who knows? In these games, Alabama, even though they got boat raced by New Mexico State last week, who knows? This is their championship game. This is their bowl game. To knock Alabama out of the playoffs, to have bragging rights for a year, it's their bowl game. The same thing with Oregon State. To knock Oregon out of the playoffs. The same thing with Washington State. To knock Washington off their undefeated season. Then we have the greatest. We have the game with the greatest trophy, the land grant game. Penn State and Michigan State's going to be played on Friday at the stadium where the Lions play. I think that's Ford Field. It's 7:30 Eastern NBC. And do yourselves a favor, Google this trophy. It is the ugliest trophy. It's the most hideous trophy that anybody can create. And yet it is being played for a Division One, and the only reason why it's Penn State and Michigan State were started by land grants, so that's why it's called Land Grant Trophy. So it's gonna be interesting this week. I like, you know, is the Michigan Ohio State game is really the only game that is not um is the only game that has ranked teams. Oregon State's ranked, and but Auburn, we said all year who's going to be that one team that's not ranked that's going to beat a top 10 team. Uh, so we'll see if Washington State, Auburn, or Oregon State can do it to pull the upset. Now, if see, the thing is with Washington, if they lose, they're still not out of it. The loser of Michigan Ohio State is still not out of it. It just depends on the other teams. But I still say, lurking in the grassy knoll is Alabama, and they're going to be the ones. They're going to win against Auburn. They're going to beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. They're going to get into playoffs, and they're going to win the whole darn thing. You mark my words. Uh, Heisman really no different. Marvin Harrison, in my opinion, if you're giving it to the best player in college football, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't care about the stats. I don't care about I just don't care about stats. I just care about who's the best player in college football, and it's Marvin Harrison Jr. He's carrying Ohio State. They probably have 2 or 3 losses without him. He is single handedly bringing them a mediocre offense, a mediocre quarterback to an undefeated season against Michigan. And then I have Michael Penix Jr., who was still out when he was quarterback at Indiana against Penn State in 2020, and Bo Nix, number 3, um, you know, who the experts say is the front runner. I don't know. We'll see. Nothing's changed in my top 10 for this week. I have Michigan 1, Georgia 2, Florida State 3, who I feel their quarterback, Travis, gruesome leg injury. It looked like a Joe Theismann, Alex Smith type injury. His college career is done. But I still have him at number 3. I'm not going to look at the quarterback and punish them for the quarterback being hurt. I'm looking at the entirety of the season. Ohio State 4, Washington 5, Oregon 6, Texas 7, Alabama 8. I got Oregon State 9, Louisville 10, Penn State and Missouri looking in. Uh, and what do you think? What are your who's your Heisman winner? What's your top 10? What are your thoughts on these rivalry games this week? I think on paper Michigan should beat Ohio State by 2 touchdowns, but you don't know. You don't know. Alabama should boat race Auburn, but you never know. Mississippi State's tricky. Oregon and Oregon State. Yeah, Oregon State's ranked, but Oregon should win. Washington should win against Washington State, but you never know. And now, since we're here with, this is Thanksgiving week, I just want to say Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I want to say, you know, Thanksgiving football is an important part of my life, not just as a fan, but it's really what I live for. I wait from the day the Super Bowl is over. I wait from that Monday after the Super Bowl until July when training camps open. We got the draft in April and May, but football is what really, I enjoy football. I think when I think of Thanksgiving, I think of football. I think of football on our TV in our house all weekend. I think of high school games, high school playoff games. I think of just yes, in Pennsylvania. Let me explain for the people who don't live in Pennsylvania. The state championship is the second Saturday of December. Um, and it's just football is just a huge important part of my life, and that's why I think things between the food, which turkey on its own is it's just this dry meat, but mashed potatoes and uh I'm a mashed potato guy. I'm a sweet potato guy. uh Pumpkin pie, gotta have pumpkin pie. Apple pie is highly overrated. In fact, anything apple is overrated. uh, what else? What else is mac and cheese? I don't consider that a Thanksgiving dish because I hate mac and cheese, and I've never had mac and cheese on a table for Thanksgiving. I know in my wife's family they cheesy potatoes. I don't eat them. I don't eat anything potatoes or noodles with cheese. I think it's gross. I think it's disgusting. Um, I stick to mashed potatoes. I stick to sweet potatoes. and I stick to a green bean casserole. That's what I stick with. It's all about pacing. It's all about pacing. It's about wearing those pants with elastics. Uh, you know, it's just the one day no one gives a crap about their diet. You know, it's the one day. So enjoy time with your family. Enjoy the time watching football. Enjoy everything that this holiday and this weekend presents. Safe travels. And finally, I just want to say good luck to the Dunmore Bucks in their quarterfinal state football game this Friday against Camp Hill. Once a buck, always a buck. And with that, arrivederci.